everybody. Welcome to Women in Retail Talks. I'm Melissa Campanelli, the co-founder of the Women in Retail Leadership Circle. And today I'm so excited to be joined by Debbie Propst, the president of Herman Miller Retail. At Herman Miller, Debbie oversees the company's global retail business across its portfolio of brands, including Herman Miller, Design Within Reach, and Hey. Today we're going to discuss Debbie's career, what it was like to be named president of a company during a pandemic, how she leads and motivates her team, and so much more. So with that, so nice to meet you, Debbie. Thanks for joining us today.
Nice to meet you too, Melissa. Thank you for having me.
Great. So I'm just going to kind of jump into it. I have a bunch of questions here I would love to talk to you about. So the first is, why don't you just tell me a little bit about your background? It sounds like you have a bit of an accent and a little bit about your background in retail.
Sure. Well, I'll touch on the accent first and get that out of the way. So I'm from Scotland originally, although I'm always very proud when people know I'm from Scotland because I haven't lived there since I was 5. From there, we lived in England and then spent actually most of my teenage years in Spain. We moved there when I was 12. So I went back to the UK for university and then I landed stateside after I graduated from university. So I've spent almost all my career in retail. I'll work backwards. I joined Herman Miller as the president of retail, as you said, in January of this year, focusing on leading growth across the global retail business and our portfolio of brands. And I came to Herman Miller from Bed Bath & Beyond, where most recently I was president of a home furnishings digital first brand called One Kings Lane. And I was also simultaneously chief brand officer of Bed Bath & Beyond. I joined Bed Bath & Beyond because they were acquired by One Kings Lane, of which I was a part. And as president of the One Kings Lane brand, I had full responsibility for the P&L, the business transformation into a high-end lifestyle brand from its origination as a flash sale site. And I also led the brand vision and creative direction of the multi-billion-dollar Bed Bath & Beyond business, including private label brand portfolio management, visual merchandising, digital content strategy, product and package design, and brand communications, as well as I led the in-house creative agency supporting e-commerce stores and marketing for Bed Bath & Beyond and Bye Bye Baby. And I did this through a time of much transformation for Bed Bath & Beyond, and I'm excited to see the evolution of the branding we were developing now in front of the consumer. Prior to One Kings Lane, I was a head merchant for Abercrombie & Fitch, where I was responsible for many business categories across 4 brands, Abercrombie & Fitch, Abercrombie Kids, and then Hollister, and at various different times, Rule or Gilly Hicks. And in this head merchant role, I managed merchandising and oversaw product development, giving me experience with production and manufacturing in factories around the world. And I'm also a graduate of the Neiman Marcus Executive Development Program, where I started my career in the early 2000s, focused on buying within that organization.
Wow, great. You have such an interesting background of, traditional, specialty retail and sort of apparel, and then a lot recently in the furniture space.
Yeah.
I'm going to jump around a little bit from some of these questions, if that's okay. So can you tell us a little bit about your role at Herman Miller Retail right now? I know I mentioned briefly that you're sort of overseeing the brands, and you mentioned it a little bit at the beginning, but like, what are you sort of overseeing, or what are your goals as president?
So Herman Miller Retail encompasses Design Within Reach, our Danish brand Hey, and then the consumer side of Herman Miller. And across all 3 of these brands, quality and good design is always at the forefront. And we really see our brands as positioned in the premium marketplace. The focus of the retail group is our consumer businesses across e-commerce and physical store locations around the world. And obviously with a shift to remote work and people spending more time at home, we're in a unique position to expand the Herman Miller consumer customer base. To meet the demands that consumers newly have, we've started rolling out Herman Miller stores for performance seating, which offer an entirely new way for the public to experience and test drive our award-winning performance seating and home office solutions firsthand. And at the same time, we've also seen record sales across Design Within Reach and Hey, in part to rapid digitization that has been underway this year. Early on, we rolled out a robust virtual chat and video design capability and relaunched a new website for DWR. And we've also seen a huge surge in demand for home furnishings industry-wide as the consumer thinks about how to maximize their home given the increase in time spent in it. So really I've spent this year so far sort of in a balance between crisis management and developing strategies that optimize the consumer opportunity for all three brands, all of which are at various stages within their sort of growth cycle across various different channels.
Yeah, we definitely have heard, you're obviously seeing it firsthand, but we've heard a lot of our members and a lot of our readers and stuff talking about the growth in sort of the home goods, furniture area, since people are home during the pandemic. So that's really interesting. But what I also found really interesting is that you were named president. I remember when the press release came over, I'm pretty sure you were named president during the pandemic.
I was lucky enough to have about 8 weeks on the ground with the team before we went into shelter in place. I was named president in January.
Oh, okay, great.
Mid-March, we all switched to work from home overnight.
Right. So it was a relatively short though period. I mean, can you talk a little bit about what that was like? I mean, you're having to manage a team, relatively new team, and you're sort of in crisis management, as you said. I mean, what I don't know if you could talk at all about any experiences that you had there or thoughts around that.
I was very lucky. I did have those 8 weeks with the team, really to meet and greet everyone. Also spent quite a bit of time traveling around our fleet of stores and studios during those 8 weeks, which I feel very thankful now because we haven't really been able to travel since mid-March. And so I was really able to use that 8-week period to calibrate myself on the organization, the talent, the market opportunities, and the opportunities in our operating model. And then as we went into managing the COVID crisis, it became a mix of managing the sort of daily rigor of that particular time period in retail. There was no playbook for how to handle it. Retail, however, at large sort of generally followed a similar playbook within the industry. In the first couple of weeks, we were trying to figure out how to keep our stores safe for customers to continue to come in. And then we all shut our stores and then we moved into furloughs. And so we all sort of followed that flow. But during the time we were managing the crisis in that way, we also continued to think about what our growth strategy was for each of the three brands. And overall, the experience has challenged me, along with the whole team, to be flexible. I entered the role with really lofty goals to roll out a robust omni-channel strategy over the first year and transform our brick and mortar approach. And I really believe that the flexibility that this required, given that all of our norms were being challenged, actually helped me manage change at a faster clip than I would have otherwise been able to do with the established team that was in place. And so one would have thought that this crisis would have slowed us down, but when the pandemic hit, we started doing things a lot quicker than I could ever have imagined. We relaunched our Design Within Reach website in record time and enhanced our digital experiences across all brands as the consumer base rapidly shifted into e-com. And I'm delighted to see our new Herman Miller store concept come to fruition this month in LA and New York. That concept takes advantage of the unique moment in time when the whole world is working from home. And so while I came into the organization in January excited about that direct-to-consumer opportunity for the Herman Miller brand, we're rolling it out a lot more aggressively and faster than we would have done otherwise, because there's this unique increase in organic demand for the type of product we sell through that brand.
Yeah, that's super interesting, that that perspective that you had. Sort of everybody was sort of new, sort of having to experience a new experience and then also having like a new leader. So that's really super interesting. So as we were talking about earlier, we'd love to get into some talk here at Women in Retail Talks about leadership and motivating your team and hiring strategies and all of that good stuff. And you have such a great background. You've worked for so many different companies as a leader. So could you talk to us a little bit about like maybe some best practices you have in general, not so much around the pandemic, but like how how you motivate your team, or even some best practices around hiring. We'd love to just pick your brain there.
Yeah, so very hard to touch on best practices in leadership without referencing the current challenge that we're managing through. Every business leader has been challenged with difficult decisions at this time. And given the unprecedented nature of COVID-19, as I said, there's been no playbook to consult. So we're all learning as we go. But to be honest, when it comes to navigating these choppy waters, my leadership philosophy has remained very much intact. The mental and physical health of our employees, customers, and broader community has and remains my utmost priority. And I believe it is possible to keep your employees safe while also simultaneously working to ensure we have a strong and healthy business for our employees to return to when this is over. So my leadership style always, and especially now, is one of transparency and fostering collaboration, which has been so important as we've navigated this year. And what that looks like is a lot of bottoms up idea generation and ownership, making sure everyone has an understanding around their accountability, but that everyone has a seat at the table when we're building out our path forward, because that creates an amount of buy-in that you may not otherwise have if you're rolling out a top-down strategy. So my leadership style is very much about creating bottoms-up collaboration and idea generation that adds up to a vision that then we can tactically manage to. And as far as hiring practices go, I was very lucky coming into this role in that as due to a set of unique circumstances, I was actually able to hire an executive team to run this retail organization. And so what I've been able to do really for the first time in my career is hire almost an entire team at once at that leadership level, which has meant that, of course, everybody has to come to the table with their functional expertise. That's the baseline expectation, that they have strong functional experience and expertise. But I've really been able to create a leadership team that has a set of skills in which each leader brings a unique set of strengths to the table, and that they complement one another through that set of strengths, and adds up to a really comprehensive group in total. I'm a big fan of Strength Finders. It's a Gallup-based leadership model in which you really focus on people's strengths and putting complementary strengths together, which actually helps to mitigate for people's weaknesses, versus continuing to focus review over review on someone's weaknesses. You focus on their strengths and you put people with them and around them that have complementing strengths that make up for the weaknesses each individual might have.
I love that. We've talked about strength finders before here at Women in Retail. I just think that's such a great way of sort of being a positive leader, empathetic, sort of understanding that people might have some things they have to work on, but to focus on the positive parts of their skill set. I just think that's such a great philosophy. So let's see, I'm going to jump ahead here a little bit. So we talk a lot about mentoring here at Women in Retail. Most of our members either have mentors or are mentors to others. How important is mentoring to you, and do you have any mentors, and why are they important?
Well, I've personally worked with many people that have inspired me, both in what to do and also in what not to do, but I've never had a single mentor. I do, however, think that mentorship is very important, and I would hope that several people's whose career I've impacted over the years consider me a mentor. There will be times in everyone's career when a tough decision or a leap of faith is needed, and having that sounding board is so helpful in these circumstances. So I'm personally a big fan of mentorship, although I've never had that single sort of point of mentorship myself.
Yeah, definitely. That's another thing that most of our members say. There's sort of like, it's not like a formal thing where they're mentors or they have mentoring programs, but they just have had people that have helped them out through their career. Mm-hmm. So in your career, could you maybe just talk about what are you most proud of? Is there anything that you've done, maybe even at Herman Miller or prior, that you can just, when you think about it, you just sort of smile and you think, this is something I did that I'm so proud of?
Well, I'm definitely very proud of how we've navigated successfully through this very difficult year, both in how we support our internal employees, team members through these times, but also how we've performed on behalf of the consumer. And frankly, how we've performed for our shareholders during this time with the growth in retail that we've seen. And I'm very proud that we're opening bricks and mortar during this time. I think I'm maybe the only crazy person in retail that's really doing that right now. But I would say what I'm most proud of as I think about the comprehensiveness of my career is learning something new and challenging myself in a new way with each new role or venture I've taken on. I have almost treated my career path with a portfolio mentality, to make sure I'm building out my resume, but for the benefit of my experience set and my own personal enjoyment. Each new job has been additive to my total experience set, not just really versus just giving me the chance to do more of the same. I've really looked for every career move through the lens of what's going to be different about this role that will allow me to continue to learn. And I'm proud looking back that I really achieved that desire.
That's wonderful. So closing out, could you maybe mention a goal that you might have personally and professionally as we sort of say goodbye to 2020 and look ahead to 2021?
Well, my current goals are about fostering balance, ensuring I'm spending quality time with my family, giving back to my local community, and from a professional perspective, expanding my board experience is sort of a goal I have in mind for the coming year. I'm really excited about the community work that I'm working on right now. I just joined a working group called Design for Freedom under Grace Farms Foundation that's focused on abolishing forced and slave labor in the built environment. So that's keeping me very energized right now, that I have the opportunity to impact the world in that kind of way.
Wow, that's so cool. I haven't heard of that group, but that's really great. It's really interesting. I think a lot of people think about that kind of labor, like when they think of apparel, but it's in other industries as well. So could you just repeat exactly what the group is called? Maybe some of our listeners would be interested in it.
Absolutely. It's called Design for Freedom. And we just launched our website, and it's through the Grace Farms Foundation.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Well, I think that's about all we have time for today. Debbie, thank you so much for joining us and for sharing some of your great wisdom with our listeners. I'd also like to thank everyone who's listening today. And for more information on this podcast, please check out our podcast channel page at womeninretail.com/podcast, where we'll have show notes. Women in Retail Talks is also available on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, and Spotify. And please subscribe to our podcast channel as well. We'd really appreciate that. And if you've enjoyed the episode, please take a few moments to rate and review it. So until next time, thank you so much. And this has been Women in Retail Talks.